Here we are on Brunch with Brian this morning. And today I want to do a refresher on Brunch with Brian here and also with our Teaching Tuesday today. You know, we love our Teaching Tuesdays. That's our conference call where we always get on and teach some incredible information, sometimes motivational, but mostly about real estate investing. And so we're going to talk today about the 7 deals. So, what are the 7 deals? How do you do them? What sellers and buyers are matching up together to make a deal? And so, we're going to go over all 7 deals today. Now, here's the 7 deals. If you want to write these down, I don't have a lot of time to go super in depth on Brunch with Brian. It's a shorter format, obviously. So, we're going to get into it on Teaching Tuesday and really dive in deep and explain each deal. Explain not only how each deal works, but when are you going to apply those? What are the ups? What are the benefits, the advantages and disadvantages of each of the 7 deals? And so we're going to talk about all 7 deals. The number one deal that we like the most and have gravitated towards because you can buy a house once and make multiple paydays for decades off of it. And that's a creative financing buy and hold deal. Now, sometimes people call them buy and hold. Sometimes people call them cash flow deals. These are deals you're holding on to and you're putting either one of 2 exit strategies here. You're dealing with what we call a creative financing seller. Now, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you'll ask a seller, hey, will you do creative financing on this deal? And they'll say, no, I can't take monthly payments. You don't ask them creative financing. You say, would you be open to monthly payments? So if they say, absolutely no way can I take monthly payments, I have to do cash, it is within the realm of possibility that you could get financing from a national private lending company. We are hooked up with a national private lending company that we can help you with as well. So if you find a deal that it seems like a great deal, and I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get new financing on any property over about 150,000 with this market. Okay, just because of the way that the interest rates have landed right now, if it's about 150 or less, you could possibly get new financing on it and still have it cash flow. Okay, but if it's getting up to 300,000, 400,000, the rates are higher now, and that's the biggest change in the market in the last year, although they have actually pulled back a little bit in the last couple of months. So, but they're around 7%. So that's a lot different than 3.5%, which it was a few years, just not that long ago, about a year, a little more than a year. So really rates changed a lot, and that changed the marketplace. So, but this is the type of deal where it's a buy and hold or cash flow strategy, and you're going to buy it hopefully with some type of seller financing, and you're going to sell it probably on a lease purchase. Although there is another exit strategy of just doing a straight rental. All right, and with some of the properties we have, we just do straight rentals on them. So that's another type of property. Okay, so that's number one deal is a buy and hold or cash flow strategy. And we often call those creative financing deals because that's what we're trying to get is creative financing from the seller. Okay, deal number 2 is a wholesale deal. Now, a lot of times people think this is the simplest deal to do. In some ways, a creative financing deal is almost simpler, but with a wholesale deal, you still have to arrange for somebody's got to get financing, and there's some more steps to it. With a creative financing deal, you talk to a seller, the seller says, yeah, I'll sell you my house and take monthly payments, and you're basically signing an agreement that day or ASAP, and then as soon as you get the title report back, they're in there signing the house over to you. So that's quicker and simpler than any time you have to deal with a lending company. But sometimes great deals work out great, using a lender, but it's not as fast. So with a wholesale deal, sometimes you're going to sell to, the idea is to sell to a flipper. Obviously, you find a distressed property anywhere in the country. And that's the beauty about wholesales now, is that a lot of people do virtual wholesaling, meaning they don't just focus on their own market. They target other markets around the country. So I want you to be open to doing that. I want you to be thinking about targeting markets where there's a very good buy and hold properties or wholesale properties. So if you find really good distressed properties in another market, you're probably not going to do a fix and flip unless you're set up. If you're set up, you can arrange it, you can make it happen. We recently did another rehab in Minnesota. But we have some boots on the ground there. We know people there, and so obviously our families are from back there. So that's one strategy. But generally, a wholesale, you get that distressed property under contract, and then you don't fix it, you don't lay a glove on it, you just flip it to a flipper. You would do an assignment of contract, is what they call it. So, and then you get an assignment fee. So when you do a wholesale, it's one check, and you get an assignment fee from a flipper. That's what you're getting. So that can be a good deal. And if you are able to find good deals on distressed properties anywhere in America, you should be wholesaling them. You're not going to, if you can find a lot of them, you're never going to be able to fix and flip them all. So you're going to be wholesaling. Okay, that's the number 2 type of deal. Number 3 is work for equity. Okay, now that's where you get a seller of a distressed house or a beat up house who is willing to take monthly payments. And then you don't touch the house, you don't fix it up. You put a work for equity buyer in there, or a sweat equity buyer. We call them tenant buyers because they're leasing the property and doing all the repairs at their own expense, and they don't even own the house yet. Now, if they end up moving out because they got a job transfer, a divorce, or whatever, they leave the improvements behind, and they leave their non-refundable option deposit behind. So it's a really good deal for you. And especially if you don't have the time or the money or the energy or the willpower to do a rehab job or a fix-up job, sometimes you can just put people in there and let them do the work at their own expense. So that's a work for equity. Now, we did a deal like that in Baton Rouge not too long ago. The only thing I'm going to give you on a tip on that one is if you're putting a work for equity person in there, mostly we don't really check on the repairs. We don't check on the condition of the property with most properties, but that's when we're giving them over in good condition. That's when we're giving them to a lease purchase buyer and the property's already in good condition. But in this case, with a work for equity buyer, I would actually like to see a schedule of repairs, something for them to shoot for. And, just so, and something that you can keep track of. And so that might be a case where you would say, hey, I'd like to come over every quarter, every 3 months, and just check and see how the repairs are coming. Okay, so that's a work for equity. That's number 3. Number 4 is a fix and flip or a rehab. We call it different things, but that's where you're getting a distressed property, either buying it from a wholesaler or finding it yourself, and then actually doing the repairs yourself and selling it as a retail property, selling it for retail price. So that's a rehab. It's the one deal most people think real estate investing is. If you say I'm a real estate investor, normally they think you're a flipper. They don't understand that there's creative financing deals and all different kinds of deals. They might get the fact that you're a landlord. If you say, well, I'm a landlord, but if you have a lot of lease purchase tenant buyers in there, you are technically a landlord because they're just renters right now. Until they actually convert their option to buy, they're just renters. So you technically are a landlord. All right, now that's number 4 deal is a rehab. Number 5 deal is what we call a pre-foreclosure or short sale deal. This is where you find a seller who's way behind on the mortgage, or maybe just 3 months behind. So it doesn't have to be way behind. And my favorite strategy on this is to catch up the mortgage and take over the property subject to. So that's my favorite strategy. You don't have to get new financing. You just have to come up with a little cash, not too much usually, to catch up the mortgage. Now, another strategy is ask for a reinstatement. Or sometimes they call it a forbearance, and that's where they take all the late payments, which can be thousands of dollars, and put it on top of the loan. So the loan amount goes up, but you don't have to come up with the money right away. So that's another good strategy on those ones where you find people are behind on the mortgage. You're going to find a lot more of those because of loan modifications. I'll talk more about that on Teaching Tuesdays. All right, number 6 deal is an option deal. An option deal is where you say, Mr. Seller, your house is in good condition. I'd love to buy your house on monthly payments. That's how we always approach every deal, because that's what, the best way to buy anything is with seller financing. So we're going to ask for the seller financing. If they say, you know what, I just can't do seller financing, but you know what, I'll give you a great deal on the house. I'll sell it to you for cash, and I'll give you, it's worth 300. I'll sell it to you for 250. So in that case, you would get the property under contract. You would actually write it up as an there's two ways to do this. You can actually do the option agreement. So there is an agreement that actually says option agreement, or you can just do a purchase and sale agreement and actually put, and date it for any time before this date. Okay, so close on any date before this date. You put that in section 18, which is your additional addendums. So that's how you do a option deal, but you got to sell it for cash, and you got to sell it usually pretty fast. So we'll talk more about that and when to use that type of strategy on some deals are good deals for that. Now, lastly is number 7, and that is what we call an assignment deal. You might have heard this called an assignment of contract or AX deal, assignment of contract terms. So there's different things that people call this deal, but this deal is where you buy a property and it's when it's over mortgaged. You're usually dealing with an over mortgaged seller. Okay, so they owe too much they owe more than what the house is worth. Okay, now there's more of these that we're finding more recently because prices have sort of modified a little bit since their peak. So you've got some properties where they owe close to or more than what the house is worth. Now, my number one approach on that is to try to do some kind of creative financing deal so I can hang on to the property. But just in case that doesn't look too attractive to me, if there's not a big cash flow, I might just do an assignment of contract. Now, it's sort of like a wholesale. You are assigning a contract in a wholesale, only in this, you're assigning terms. So you're assigning terms that you've worked out with the seller. So you've got some kind of terms deal with the seller, certain amount of payment, certain length of time, usually the whole rest of the mortgage if they're over mortgaged, or at least like 5 years or more to allow the mortgage to get paid down. So that's an assigning contract deal, normally with an over mortgage seller and then a lease purchase buyer. Okay, so I'm going to get more into those strategies today on Teaching Tuesdays, when to use them, why to use them, what the paydays are in each deal, and how to actually target searches for those types of deals, because you're actually doing different searches when you're targeting different properties. You're actually advertising different things. You're going to advertise full price for your house or something else. Good morning, Tony. How you doing? You're actually, what are you saying there, Tony? Getting easier to talk to sellers about this because they understand they have not just a house, but also a better interest rate. Yes. So when you find someone who has a lower interest rate mortgage and you're talking to them about their mortgage and they owe 4% on their mortgage, then obviously you say, hey, this is a great deal because we don't have to waste your good interest rate on your mortgage, that you can benefit from that on an ongoing basis. All right. So Linda, good morning, Linda. You're stuck. Okay. LA, inner circle, have to pick up a property. Okay. Yeah. And, and if you're in LA, the properties are so expensive that if you have to come up with 20% down on a financed deal, that's a lot. Okay. So if you buy $100,000 house and you got to come up with 20% down, it's only 20 grand. I mean, it's not going to completely bankrupt the operation. But if you're buying all the houses in LA are expensive. We've owned houses out there. 500,000 would be, you're lucky to get a house for 500,000. And if you get new financing on that, I'm telling you, at the rates that are out there right now, you're not going to be able to get enough monthly rent to cover a new mortgage. So my advice is you've got to get seller financing. Now, in expensive markets, this is important. Listen up. On expensive markets, I'll talk more about this later. I want you to be aware that a lot of these people are really desperate because the buyers have completely dried up. All the buyers in properties from like 500,000 and up are sort of sitting on the sidelines waiting until the rates go back down. and they might be waiting a while, but now we have a little window of opportunity in the market, so you can really take advantage of these sellers who are in the higher priced houses. Now you're not getting new financing, and you're going to ask for nothing down or as little down as you can get on more expensive homes, and you're telling them that you're basically going to cover their monthly payment. You're going to say, okay, so what's your monthly payment? Everything included, PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Okay, and do you have an HOA, a homeowners association? Okay, so you get the whole monthly expense. You figure out how much that is, and if you can rent that property for more, then you got a deal potentially. So if their monthly mortgage payment is 2,800 and you can get 4,000 a month for that house, that's going to be potentially a really good deal. And what are these sellers looking for? They're looking for debt relief, and so they're eating a big payment every month on a vacant house sometimes. So especially if you can find a vacant house in those price ranges, that you got a super motivated seller. All right, so there's people who still have to sell their houses. There's still divorces going on, and people are still dying, and things are happening, and the interest rates are high, so people still have to sell these houses, and they're cutting the price. Guys, we'll pay a higher price. We don't care about the price as much. We just need to get a good monthly payment that gives us a spread. Okay, so in more expensive homes, we're shooting for seller financing. We're not getting new financing on those properties, and we're trying to get it for as little down as possible. And when you ask them what their monthly payment is currently, you got to know what you can get for rent. And if there's a spread there, then go forward with it. Okay, so there is deals in those more expensive houses, but you just got to really target the seller financing, and you definitely have motivated sellers in those price ranges too now that we haven't seen before. They're trying to. Okay, yeah, and guys, there's some push in some states to do something with wholesaling and making it harder to do it. And sometimes they're requiring in some states now that you have an actual license, that you be licensed as an agent to be able to do a wholesale deal. So they're check out your own, your own rules in your own state. But remember, you can do wholesales anywhere in the country. So you can do wholesales in a lot of different states if you find distressed properties in those states. Okay. Where would you find this info? Okay, guys, the info on the 7 deals is all in your what to say and what to do system. Now, I think most of you guys have the what to say and what to do system. And remember, that goes through all 7 deals. In the what to do manual, go to the what to do manual, and there's a pre-screening checklist that actually goes through all the different kinds of deals. It's on 2 pages, and it actually says, this is this kind of deal, this is this kind of deal. And then every deal is kind of broken down in the system. So I want you to, definitely read over your what to do manual. The information is in there on the 7 deals, but I will break it down today on Teaching Tuesdays as well. So you can take really good notes today. Hey, Caleb, great to see you. I always miss you when you're not here. Okay. Hey, Lacey. Okay. Definitely be there on Teaching Tuesdays. Good job. All right. And, I'm in Tampa, Florida. Oh, okay. And Lee Arnold's Inner Circle. Oh, wow. That's exciting, Linda. All right. Well, I will talk to you. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon. So we'll see all you guys on Teaching Tuesdays later. Sorry, I went kind of long today, but I had sort of a lot of content to cover. But we'll have a really great Teaching Tuesdays, and you're going to be a lot smarter. And it'll be a good overall refresher course on just the whole business of real estate, which is always good to get, right? Hi, Karen. Great to see you. Great. Everyone having a great new year this year, and we'll see you all on Teaching Tuesdays. So what's our affirmation for today? I'm a transaction engineer. Okay. Now remember, we did an update on the what to say and what to do system. We created a test. And on this test, once you pass the test, we're going to send you a certificate. You're going to be a certified transaction engineer. So if you don't have that test, I want you to call the office 888-RICH now and get a copy of that test, okay? And make sure that we're helping you out in that way, and then get you a nice certificate to print and be a transaction engineer. So I am a transaction engineer. That's our affirmation for today. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I am a transaction engineer. I'm a transaction engineer. I'm a transaction engineer. All right. Okay, 3 deep breaths. Nice deep breath in. And let it go. Relax your shoulders. Another deep breath in. Big smile and let it go. One more. And relax. All right, awesome. Okay, great. We'll see you later on Teaching Tuesdays. Until then, keep expecting success, getting awesome training, and of course, take an action.